Hello and welcome to iLit Lesson D2.34. Today we will focus on context and academic vocabulary, analyze text to create visualization, and then apply what you have learned. Let's get started. Do you know what inherit means? Think about it for a second. Where would you rate yourself? Inherit. After his father bought a new car, Carlos was happy to inherit his father's old one. Synonyms for inherit: get, obtain, receive, take over. Jana said, "I will inherit my sister's old car when she gets a new one." What does inherit mean? Paint, wreck, get. If you said get, you would be correct. Do you know what shuffling means? Think about it. Now let's find out. Because of the injury to his leg, Josh was shuffling along as he walked across the floor. Other verb forms: shuffle, shuffles, shuffled. If a person is shuffling his feet, what is he doing? A. Picking his feet up high. B. Dragging his feet. C. Kicking his feet. If you said B. Dragging his feet, you would be correct. Conversational fluency. Famous equals very well known. The actress in the new movie is famous for her roles in other movies. Spectacular, making a great display. The eruption of the geyser was spectacular. Today we will be doing more to examine poetry. Poetry is a type of imaginative literature that defies a simple definition. Each poem is characterized by its own style and form. Today's poem is a free verse poem. Free verse poetry does not use a regular meter. Instead, the poet creates the cadences by natural speech or any rhythm that suits the poem's meaning. As we read, you can use descriptive details in the text to visualize the action in the text. In other words, they can create pictures in your mind of what's happening in this poem or story or article. Visualizing the action in the poem can help you better understand the words of the poem. Descriptive details include the way things look, feel, smell, taste, and sound. What does it mean to be famous? In her poem, Famous, Naomi Shihab Nye looks at the idea in an entirely different way than what you might expect. The river is famous to the fish. The loud voice is famous to silence, which knew it would inherit the earth before anybody said so. The cat sleeping on the fence is famous to the birds watching him from the birdhouse. The tear is famous, briefly, to the cheek. The idea you carry close to your bosom is famous to your bosom. Let's pause for a moment in the poem and do some exploring. The boot is famous to the earth, more famous than the dress shoe, which is famous only to floors. The bent photograph is famous to the one who carries it, and not at all famous to the one who is pictured. I want to be famous to shuffling men who smile while crossing streets, sticky children in grocery lines, famous as the one who smiled back. I want to be famous in the way a pulley is famous, or a buttonhole, not because it did anything spectacular, but because it never forgot what it could do. Let's go through and examine some visualization and some keywords that really help us to visualize. Words that might appeal to our senses could be shuffling, smile, sticky, or grocery. Shuffling might appeal to your sense of sound. Smile, visual. Sticky. Oh, I think about the feel there with something sticky. And grocery kind of appeals to my sense of taste, like what should I buy at the grocery store? we might be able to tell that these are some key words because if we were to change them, even slightly or maybe drastically, it would change the tone of the poem. Instead of shuffling men, maybe they're stumbling men. Or instead of a smile, maybe it's a frown. Instead of sticky, it could be ill or sick. And grocery could be something like hospital. If we look at it in that term, I want to be famous to stumbling men who frown while crossing the streets, sick children in hospital lines. That would be a very different feel to the story. And visually, it would be very different than I want to be famous to shuffling men who smile while crossing streets, sticky children in grocery lines. This one is a far more happy experience than the other one. Let's do some further examination of this poem. Why is the boot more famous to the earth than a dress shoe? Okay, so we have a boot and the earth and a dress shoe which is famous only to floors. Well, when I think about it and I wear dress shoes, I typically don't want to get them dirty because they're nice looking shoes that might be a little bit more fragile. So I'm probably going to walk on floors that are clean and so the shoe won't get wrecked or dirty. Whereas if I'm wearing boots, well, I kind of expect myself to get dirty. I might be going for a hike or I might be digging out in the yard. So I can definitely see why a boot might be more famous to the earth. And then we see, what is the speaker's message in this final stanza? Ooh, I really like this stanza when it talks about being famous, like in the way a pulley is famous or a buttonhole. Now, these are everyday objects that are doing very important things. Pulleys help to lift things, and buttonholes, well, they're great for your shirts, right? So in this case, they are famous because everyone knows what they are, but they're not spectacular. Like people don't go out of their way to go, wow, did you see that pulley and what it could do? Typically, they're not talking about that. I like this last sentence because it never forgot what it could do. Huh. What can you do in your everyday life? That would be super important. I hope you've done something to help out at home today, or simply make someone else's day. Thanks for joining me today. Your assignments in iLit are to pick a topic for your essay, also to do some Quizlet practice. When we meet together for our classroom conversation, we're going to be having a Quizlet Live, discussing the topics for your essay, and having a brief book talk. Make sure you come prepared to answer one of the questions. What surprised you? What challenge confirmed or changed your thinking? Or what new word did you look up and learn? Thanks again for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.